Всем привет! Today I would like finally to tell about a topic which I professionally studied as my first education in the university. Well, not just this topic, but at least it's from the sphere I studied. So I would like to talk about art and Russian pictorial art. But for one video it would be too much. For today I would like just to talk about one group of Russian artists which appeared in the 19th century in St. Petersburg, Russian Empire. This group was named, in English I would translate it like the movers or the wanderers, and in Russian their name is передвижники. So what the group was it? First of all, I have to tell that not just in Russia, but in the whole Europe, maybe in USA, maybe in other Western countries, I don't know, but definitely in Russia and Europe, in the 19th century and before, if you wanted to be an artist, and you wanted to make some oil paintings, you had actually just one way to follow the academic art style and academic art rules, which were very strict and which were very far from depicting real life. I would say that academic paintings remind me some theater decorations maybe, or something like this. So everything is very, very sterile, accurate, and yeah, just very strict. And it was like no place for something new. And several students of the Academy of Arts in St. Petersburg, they really didn't like how things are going on, and they actually stood out against academy rules and formed their own circle of artists as to oppose these rules. They wanted to paint something modern, something closer to life, something more real, and actually they brought in Russian art realistic style, because before it used to be like high art and low art, and art was very strictly separated from real life. As I said previously, it was about gods, heroes, ancient Greece plots, something like this, Bible plots, and it all was like a stage in the theater, very, very stereotypical stage in the theater. So what actually did передвижники? It was about also everyday life, usual people like workers, peasants, ordinary usual streets. They showed drawbacks. The art of realism of group of передвижники, it was about drawbacks, about the realism of life, and that people are not always beautiful. They can look tired, they can look exhausted, they can look really old, unpleasant sometimes. They can have wrinkles, tired eyes, dirty clothes. So sometimes, of course, передвижники depicted historical or Bible scenes. I will talk about it a little bit later. But there was also some specific, which was absolutely not typical for academic art. And I'll show you this on the exact pictures using exact examples. And you can say, so what's such a great thing in this, just to start drawing realistic things? Because maybe it's not really, I understand that sometimes it's not really clear now, because now we have a variety of opportunities what to show to people, in which way to create. But I would compare it like if nowadays we were photographers, and there was only the opportunity to show photos like in typical Instagram style, or these typical Pinterest photos, which are idealized. Everything is just beautiful, nice, and there are no other way what to show and how to express yourself. And also these photos, they are very far away from everyday life. Realism, yeah, it's just about everyday life. And in Russian art, it started in the middle of the 19th century. Why actually передвижники, also called like that, the wanderers, I remember in English, because they also did very important thing. They created their art and they made a series of wandering exhibitions in 48 cities of Russian Empire, and it was a great step because before all the art was concentrated in just in big cities, and mostly two of them, Moscow and St. Petersburg, two biggest cities of Russia, and all the rest of the country was like without this opportunity to see the art. And of course, that time, the exhibition or maybe some books, it was the only opportunity to see, to know something. And books actually, okay, they usually, if there were books, if they were colorful, and very often they were not, and if they were very expensive. So yeah, I think they made a great step organizing these exhibitions. It was a great event for Russia, for Russian Empire, for such a big country, but actually developed just in some small parts of it. And they wanted to make art, how to say it, affordable to everyone. So everyone should be able to come and to see and to educate themselves. That was the idea. And because they have this exhibition, they had this exhibition, actually it lasts for many years, their project, they were named like that. And now I would like to talk about plots which передвижники loved. So as I said previously, it was not just about everyday life, despite it was maybe the main topic, but also, for example, they drew some Russian folk plots. For example, they took some Russian folk fairy tales and made pictures about them, because also academic style was oriented on Western culture or like Bible, and it was not really about Russia. That's why they there were artists in this group who really tried to depict the Russian native national folk plots. For example, picture which is named Alenushka. It's the portrait of girl. So it's like typical Russian village girl, and despite the idea of the picture is not about the fairy tale, but I think most of the Russian people looking at this, they think about a Russian traditional fairy tale about brother and sister Alenushka and her younger brother Ivan, and he drank from the pool which was made by a goat's leg, and he drank from there and turned into a goat too, despite his sister told him not to do this. And I think each Russian person who doesn't know that this picture is not about that, they still think that it's about a girl sitting and being sad after she lost her brother, actually, because he turned into a goat. And I think the fairy tale actually depicts the death. So he drank some dirty water and like got ill and died. But in fairy tale it was like that, and the picture illustrates it very well. Despite the artist just wanted to show village girl, but he named her the same way, and she just looks so similar to this fairy tale that we all just see this plot there. For example, another picture of the same artist, he took the idea from famous folk tale about Russian knight. There was an idea of ancient Russian superheroes, very strong men. Their name in Russian are bogatyri. So if many of them, if one bogatyr, I think that's from word Bog, which is God in Russian. So maybe it's like they are close to God because of their strength. So they were like ancient Russian superheroes. And also there is old Russian word Vites, which is knight. So this picture is in English, the knight at the crossroads, but in Russian it's called Vites na распутье. So Vites is the knight. And this is the plot of traditional ancient Russian fairy tale about this Vites or Bogatyr and his journey. So in the original story, the stone which he looks at gives three choices. So there are three inscriptions there. You can go right and get married, you can go left and get rich, or you can go straight and die. But in this picture, artist changed the story on purpose, and in this painting he he hid the other two choices and only left the deadly one. And he also took away the roads, so there is no actual path to choose from. So what was the idea? So this picture is not really about choosing between three roads. It's about like have a lonely moment of facing a difficult rate. So the knight has no easy way out. And we can see skulls and bones on the ground, which remind us of that and the past battles of the knight. And a black raven on the stone is a traditional symbol of bad news. Another famous picture about a fairy tale is Sadko. It's also a Russian fairy tale. The same, it has the same name, Sadko. It's about a main character who got stuck on in the kingdom, which was located on the sea bottom or something like this, and he tried to got out of there. And the picture actually shows us this underwater world and this kingdom. And now I would like to show some pictures of everyday life, which was the main topic of Передвижниki's art. And I would like to start with the picture which I first seen when I was 12 years old. I've seen it in the study book in school. And there was the picture, and under the picture there were questions. What do you think? What's depicted here? What is the storyline about? What are the minds of the main character? And what is the mood of the picture? And when I just looked, I thought, well, the picture is very calm and peaceful, and it's about old ladies. They are resting in the nature. It's so cool that they can just rest, sit on the fresh air. But very soon, yeah, I understood that it's not like that. So actually, the plot is about two old ladies. You can see that they are very different. And the first one, she used to be very rich. But the thing is that in Russia, we had slavery too, like, for example, in the USA, but Russians slaved Russians. And in 1861, it was cancelled. And because of this, many noble families lost their wealth and power. And because of this, their grand estates fall into ruin. And actually, that's what this picture about. So this lady, she used to be rich, but she lost everything she had. She lost her mansion. We can see it in the background, and the only thing she has now is this hood of her servant. So the second lady is her servant who stayed with her, who actually kept her to her house, and now actually this noble lady lives there. But she still feels herself as a noble, so you can see that she doesn't want to work. She sits, she looks a bit arrogant, and her servant stayed with her, and she works, she like does something, and the only thing which the noble lady has is her memories, so she reminds her past life. and they are actually equal now, but they are still staying in their roles despite it's not true any longer, because the one lady is just still in her memories, and she doesn't know how to live differently, how to behave differently, and that's what is the picture about. The next picture is about again Russian traditions, Russian beliefs and superstitions. It's named the arrival of a sorcerer at a peasant wedding. In Russian, it is «Прибытие колдуна на свадьбу». The painting captures the moment of deep superstition and actually double faith, which was typical and which is typical for Russia sometimes, the old pagan beliefs that still lived side by side with Christianity in the Russian countryside. The arrival of sorcerer at the wedding was a serious event, because according to ancient beliefs, such a person could cast spells and bring misfortune. So it was important to bribe him with food or with money to ensure he wished the young couple well. The painting shows different reactions of people to the sorcerer. The young couple are full of fear and confusion. The older, experienced peasants seem calmer because they know that the sorcerer can be bought off with different gifts, and the hosts are already offering him bread and salt to please him. The idea for the painting came from artist's own childhood memory of his older brother's wedding, when an uninvited man walked in and everyone whispered, and he was actually the sorcerer, and the guest gave him drink and some money, and after that he left. The next picture you can see is called «They Didn't Expect Him». In Russian, the name is «Не ждали». It shows the sudden, unexpected return of a political exile to his family home. And you can see the reaction of the family. This were a moment when they just see him the first time after so many years, and they are shocked. So the mother, an old woman in black, rises from the chair. She is the first to recognize her son. The wife sits at the piano. The son at the table has recognized his father, and the daughter looks at the stranger with suspicion and with fear, because she is too young to remember him when he left, so she doesn't know who is that. And talking about history, what was the difference between academical historical pictures and realistic ones, which were typical for передвижники art? You can see the picture, which is called Menshikov in Березово. Menshikov, it's the last name of the man in the picture. Березово, it's a place, town or village in Siberia. It's a real historical figure, Alexander Menshikov. He was the most powerful and trusted friend of Russian Emperor Peter the Great in 17th, 18th centuries. But after the emperor's death in 1727, Menshikov fell victim to palace intrigues, and he was accused of treason and stealing from a treasury. So he and his family were stripped of all titles and exiled to the remote Siberian town of Березово, and his wife died on the difficult journey. That's very typical practice in Russian history, to send people in Siberia or to the far east. Now it's all developed, not so much, but developed regions. But before, of course, it used to be very wild places with no cultural life, with very bad living condition, with very bad climate, and sending there was actually a difficult thing, mostly for noble people who were used to comfort, to good life, to servants, and now they lived like usual people, and also in this very far and very unfriendly unfriendly parts of Russia. So in the picture we can see also the family members who left. The eldest daughter, Maria, sits at Menshikoff's feet. She wrapped in a dark fur coat. She was first the emperor's fiancée. I mean, Peter the Great son fiancée, but now she is dying of tuberculosis because of the climate, and we can see her pale, sickly face, which shows quite grief and resignation. And from the other side, we can see his son Alexander, who leans on the table with his head in his hand, and he looks sad and helpless and mechanical at picking wax off a candle holder. But the youngest daughter, Alexandra, by the way, I just noticed that they are Alexander and Alexandra, and that's very interesting choice for naming kids, but okay. So she sits by the window reading a book, and she's the only one who looks a bit better, and it's like brings a small note of hope, because her face is still has a blush, and she's dressed more brightly, and she's like not there. So she reads the book, and she's a little bit out of this situation, not how to say it, not deeply into it, and it feels like it helps her to feel better than the others do. So why this painting is so special? Because it turns history into a personal tragedy. So it's not about showing a huge battle or public execution, but he shows the quiet loneliness and one man who has lost everything, and the low ceiling and cramped space make the look of the man make Menshikov look like a giant trapped in a cage. And actually that's also what I like in this type of art, that in general I like when some big tragedy is showed not in the battles, or because I don't really into all this stuff, but into these personal stories. I think that's very interesting. That's because, for example, maybe not the best example because it's about a little bit different, but for example, I don't like movies about war because I don't like all these battles when they are shown and all that stuff. But for example, I like a movie The Pianist of Roman Polanski, or I like anime, how it's called in English, The Grave of I don't know how to name these insects, because they are about war, but they are there is no battles there at all. It's just about personal stories of people, and that's what is more interesting, that's what attracts me more, and that's why also I love this picture too. And there were pictures about Bible, religion in art of Передвижники, but there was one thing that in the middle of the 19th century in France was published the book. The author's last name was Renan, if I'm not mistaken, and it was named The Life of the Christ. So it described the life and the way of the Christ historically, how it was, how he moved, where he lived, where he stayed, where this happened, that happened, and the book turned out to be very popular. In Russia it was popular too, and this artists loved it, and they also depicted some religion plots, but also in different ways. So they depicted Christ like a real person more. So it was not actually about history itself, but it was about also some personal stories. For example, if we talk very famous picture, Christ in the desert, in Russian it's Христос в пустыне. So the artist did not play the traditional scene of Christ being tempted by devil. Yes, if you don't know, it's the plot when Christ went into desert and the devil started tell him that why does he need to do what he does? He's going to die, and they can like work together or something. And Christ thought about that, but he refused to cooperate with devil. So actually the picture describes this situation. So instead all typical academic historical plots, artist painted the moment after the temptation, so the lonely moment of deep inner struggle and thought. And that was the difference. So the artist said that he wanted to show the critical moment in every human's life when a person must choose between good and evil. So the Christ here is not a saint person, but he is like a usual man in his deep difficult thoughts, and he is shown as the one who actually can choose the evil as a possible variant too. And also we can see how the Christ is depicted, also not like it used to be before. So he's not clean, he's not actually he also has got wrinkles, some dirt, he's not very accurate. So also it's about realistic depiction and of that time, and how and why that was new for that period of time. So that was a very short introduction into the art of передвижники, the realistic art in Russia, the first steps of realistic art in Russia, the first steps, but at the same time the very high period of it. And I hope that it was interesting for you to listen about it, and I hope that I let you some information to think and to know about. Let me know in the comments, was it interesting or not, did you like it or not. And I think for now I'm finished, because I believe that's pretty much information for this one topic and for one video. So thank you very much for watching, and пока-пока.